The Cosmos, the Microcosm, delivered in New York on 26th January 1896, Part 1. The human mind naturally wants to get outside, to peer out of the body, as it were, through the channels of the organs. The eye must see, the ear must hear, the senses must sense the external world, and naturally the beauties and sublimities of nature captivate the attention of man first. The first questions that arose in the human soul were about the external world. The solution of the mystery was asked of the sky, of the stars, of the heavenly bodies, of the earth, of the rivers, of the mountains, of the oceans, and in all ancient religions we find traces of how the groping human mind at first caught at everything external. There was a river god, a sky god, a cloud god, a rain god, everything external, all of which we now call the powers of nature, became metamorphosed, transfigured into wills, into gods, into heavenly messengers. As the question went deeper and deeper, these external manifestations failed to satisfy the human mind. And finally, the energy turned inward, and the question was asked of man's own soul. From the macrocosm, the question was reflected back to the microcosm. From the external world, the question was reflected to the internal. From analyzing the external nature, man is led to analyze the internal. This questioning of the internal man comes with a higher state of civilization, with a deeper insight into nature, with a higher state of growth. The subject of discussion this afternoon is this internal man. No question is so near and dear to man's heart as that of the internal man. How many millions of times in how many countries has this question been asked? Sages and kings, rich and poor, saints and sinners, every man, every woman, all have from time to time asked this question. Is there nothing permanent in this evanescent human life? Is there nothing they have asked which does not die away when the body dies? Is there not something living when this frame crumbles into dust? Is there not something which survives the fire which burns the body into ashes? And if so, what is this destiny? Where does it go? Whence did it come? These questions have been asked again and again, and so long as this creation lasts, so long as there are human brains to think, this question will have to be asked. Yet, it is not that the answer did not come. Each time the answer came. And as time rolls on, the answer will gain strength more and more. The question was answered once for all thousands of years ago, and through all subsequent time it is being restated, re-illustrated, made clearer to our intellect. What we have to do, therefore, is to make a restatement of the answer. We do not pretend to throw any new light on those all absorbing problems, but only to put before you the ancient truth in the language of modern times, to speak the thoughts of the ancients in the language of the moderns, to speak the thought of the philosophers in the language of the people, to speak the thoughts of the angels in the language of man, to speak the thoughts of God in the language of pure humanity, so that man will understand them. For the same divine essence from which the ideas emanated is ever present in man, and, therefore, he can always understand them. I am looking at you. How many things are necessary for this vision? First, the eyes. For if I am perfect in every other way and yet have no eyes, I shall not be able to see you. Secondly, the real organ of vision. For the eyes are not the organs, they are but the instruments of vision, and behind them is the real organ, the nerve center in the brain. If that center be injured, a man may have the clearest pair of eyes, yet he will not be able to see anything. So, it is necessary that this center or the real organ be there. Thus, with all our senses. The external ear is but the instrument for carrying the vibration of sound inwards to the center. Yet that is not sufficient. Suppose in your library you are intently reading a book and the clock strikes, yet you do not hear it. The sound is there, the pulsations in the air are there, the ear and the center are also there, and these vibrations have been carried through the ear to the center, and yet you do not hear it. What is wanting? The mind is not there. Thus, we see that the third thing necessary is that the mind must be there. First, the external instruments, then the organs to which this external instrument will carry the sensation, and lastly, the organ itself must be joined to the mind. When the mind is not joined to the organ and the ear may take the impressions, and yet we shall not be conscious of it. The mind too is only the carrier. It has to carry the sensation still forward and present it to the intellect. The intellect is the determining faculty and decides upon what is brought to it. Still, this is not sufficient. The intellect must carry it forward and present the whole thing before the ruler in the body and human soul, the king on the throne. Before him, this is presented, and then from him comes the order what to do and what not to do. And the order goes down in the same sequence to the intellect, to the mind, to the organs, and the organs convey to the instruments, and the perception is complete.